Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Into the Hive Mind. We're doing another one of the new Tyranid Codex Detachment videos today, and today we're going to be going over the Synaptic Nexus. So again, as far as like phases of the Tyranid invasion, the Synaptic Nexus is kind of the last resort of if the defenders have successfully fended off the initial vanguard, the swarms of Gaunts, the master monster mash, and the Tyranids need to start adapting. So when that happens, they send out the brain bugs and all the synapse, and basically they need to be able to adapt on the fly to defeat this foe that has otherwise not been able to be defeated by conventional Tyranid methods. And so because of that, the Synaptic Nexus detachment ability is basically all about being adaptive, and in the beginning of each battle round, you basically get your combat doctrines that Space Marines currently have. So at the beginning of your battle round, you pick a Synaptic Imperative. This is very similar to the 9th edition Tyranid rules. But you pick your Synaptic Imperative. It lasts for the entirety of the battle round. And your three choices are, each one can be used once per battle, same as Space Marines, but your three choices are a 5+ invulnerable save. You can get +1 to advance and charge, or you can get +1 to hit in melee. These are fine. They're good. Not as good as other detachment abilities. +1 to advance and charge is just a really nice benefit to have for a turn, for a big turn that you really need to hit the gas and go time. +1 to hit in melee is interesting. It's good. It just doesn't seem to fit the theme that the rest of this detachment really wants to have. But still a nice ability to have in a pinch. And a 5+ invulnerable save. Same thing here. This is obviously really good for models that don't have an invuln, but if this is the brain bug detachment, all of your brain bugs have a 4+ invulnerable save. And so getting a 5+ invuln is really nice for your little Gaunts, and it basically all of these are good, but they are probably only going to affect a third of your army the turn that you use it, if that. So it is a powerful ability, and you do get to adapt. It's just the way that this detachment wants to be built doesn't actually benefit a whole lot from these three traits. Obviously, you don't have to pick. You can choose not to pick one turn one. You don't have to pick one and waste one of your three on the first battle round. You can hold off and pop them in later turns. But yeah, that is your army detachment special rule. And so then let's get into the enhancements. So obviously these all have to go on characters. Your first one is Power of the Hive Mind. This is the psychic weapons on the character get +1 strength and AP. Really good, especially for 10 points. Downside being there's literally one model this can go on. It's this guy. You got your Neurotyrant. So yeah, the Neurotyrant is the only Tyranid character who has a psychic weapon. Swarmlord has one, but he can't take enhancements. So yeah, this is 10 points. It goes on the Neurotyrant, and it's amazing because the Neurotyrant went down 10 points to 95, put it back to its old cost of 105, and now its Psychic Flamer is 2d6, 18-inch range, auto hit, strength 6, AP 2, 2 damage. Really good. So yeah, definitely want that if you are bringing a Neurotyrant, and with this detachment, you want to bring a Neurotyrant. Next up, we got Psychostatic Disruption. This is a 12-inch bubble of no deep strike. Really good. And then, amazingly enough, we have a secondary ability once per battle. If an opponent's unit comes in from reserve on battle round 1 or 2, you can roll a die, and on a 4+, you can say, no, you're coming in next turn. Really good if this pops off. I don't know how often you're going to get that, and if it's worth the 30 points that this is. But the 12-inch bubble of no deep strike already helps a ton with that, so I think that in itself is probably worth 15, 20 points. and then the ability to just say no to a unit coming in on turn 1 or 2 on a 4+. So admittedly, you have to roll that 4+, but if you get it, it's gonna feel fantastic. One of those weird enhancement abilities that is only going to come up in a third of your games, or you even going to have a chance to use it, and then you have a 50-50 shot then. But 1 game per GT is going to be an amazing ability. Yeah, it's decent, just very niche. Synaptic Control, you spend 20 points, and your Synapse monster gets -1 damage. Incredible. This goes on a Hive Tyrant. There's everything else you don't care about if they die. A Hive Tyrant you want to live. And now because this detachment doesn't have a Feel No Pain stratagem, spoiler, but there's no way to get Feel No Pain. So you need your Hive Tyrant to survive a different way. 20-point enhancement, it gets -1 damage. And the final enhancement, the Dirge Heart of Kairos, 9-inch aura of -1 leadership. Normally this is very meh, but this detachment actually, with Synapse and Brain Bugs everywhere, you kind of want your opponent to be taking Battle Shock checks a lot, and with that having a 9-inch aura of -1 leadership, definitely not bad at all. But yeah, that's your 4 enhancements. Then moving on to the stratagems. For 1 CP, you have Smothering Shadow. This is why you want your opponent to be taking lots of Battle Shock checks. In any phase after an opponent fails a Battle Shock check within 12 inches of a Synapse creature, roll 6 dice, and every 3-up is immortal. John was very excited about this in his Tyranid recap with Quentin on their Art of War channel, basically saying, you can free strat use this with a Hive Tyrant as well to double stack it, and if your opponent fails Battle Shock, basically roll 12 dice and do 8 mortals. Hilarious when that happens. I don't think that's going to happen super frequently, but if it does, yeah, 8 mortals for 1 CP and a free strat is great. So yeah, you could legitimately build a list around this. You've got Neurotyrants, obviously your Shadow in the Warp is going to be at -1. You've got Neurolictors trying to force Battle Shock checks in your command phase. You've got Death Leaper for -1 leadership, and hopefully you've got the Dirge Heart for another -1 leadership. And there might very well be a build there, and just try and pop mortals off of Battle Shocks all over the place. And additionally, if your opponent gets Battle Shocked, Neurolictors give you +1 to wound. Seems decent. Next up, you've got Synaptic Channeling. 1 CP, extend your Synapse bubble to 9 inches. That's crap. I mean, if you need it, cool. You've got it in your pocket, but this list should have so much Synapse that this is never a problem. Irresistible Will. You've got 1 CP. Pick an enemy unit within 24 inches and visible to a Synapse unit, and then that Synapse unit gains a 6-inch aura of reroll 1s to hit and wound. This is the backbone of this entire detachment, in my opinion. Basically getting Trajan rerolls off of a 6-inch aura of Synapse unit. And by unit, I mean Zoanthropes here, because Zoanthropes are going to have a very large aura of a 6-man unit that does not have to be in coherency of 2 models anymore with 6-man units. So you can stretch this out to like a 15-inch unit size that then has a 6-inch aura around it, and basically cover your entire army. And then your entire army can have reroll 1s to hit and wound. Notably, that is only against the 1 enemy target, but if you're playing against knights or something, that just really helps you pick up a big knight in 1 turn, and Tyranids normally really struggle to do that. Next up, 1 CP, Reinforced Hive Node. A Synapse unit that has been targeted in the shooting or fight phase, -1 AP against them. So this is Armor of Contempt. Absolutely incredible on the new Norn models as well as a Hive Tyrant. Anything with a 2-up save and Synapse, which I believe is those 2 models. A Maleceptor would be okay against if they're hitting you with like AP1, I guess, or AP2 and you're in cover, and still have your 3-up. For 1 CP, it's fantastic. Absolutely incredible. Gives you that durability that Tyranids really need. And finally, Imperative Dominance, 1 CP. A unit within Synapse gets to have an additional imperative than the one you chose for the round. And that's fine. You can basically just spend a CP and give your Neurogants a 5-up invuln for the entire battle round. That's what I would use it for. Alternatively, if you know that something big needs +1 to hit in combat, you can spend that CP, give a unit of melee warriors or something like that +1 to hit, knowing that you're planning on charging this turn. Next up, 1 CP, Override Instincts, fall back, shoot, and charge. I said the Irresistible Will is the bread and butter of this detachment, and that combines with the Imperative Dominance, Zoanthropes. Your Zoanthropes can now fall back and shoot. That's really what you want to be using this for. Obviously, it works on everything else as well whenever you need it, but the main thing is Zoanthropes, in my opinion, Zoanthropes were actually really bad in the Index. That's completely against everyone else on the internet, I know, but my experience with them was just, hey, I have 6 shots hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, no rerolls. And you just have 6 shots, 4 hits, 2 wounds, your opponent makes 1 save and you kill a guy. Or you deal, 3 damage to their monster. That was my experience with Zoanthropes, and I just stopped bringing them. However, that wouldn't be as much of a problem, except then they get tagged because they only have 24-inch range. This detachment removes all of that. You now have reroll 1s to hit and wound. That makes your consistency skyrocket, and being able to fall back and shoot removes their one weakness of as soon as they get tagged, they're completely shut down. So, yeah, if you want to play Zoanthropes, this is your detachment, and I built this list basically with that in mind. So with that, let's get on to the list that I wrote. I think this is actually an incredibly strong list. I will probably be playing it at Charity Hammer at some point next week. So I might even bring it against John Lennon in the NID face-off if they let me have the Synaptic Nexus detachment. We'll see if I end up getting that or not. But yeah, basically next week I will be playing on Wargames Live versus John Lennon. We're doing a NID face-off. It's going to be super fun. John Lennon, Tyler Bortel, Alex McDougall, and myself. All of us bringing different Tyranid detachments. We're going to be playing against each other. Me versus Lennon, Tyler versus Alex, and then the winners fight off in the finals for NID bragging rights. Super fun little event, and being streamed on Wargames Live. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And we are currently debating who's getting what detachment type. We'll see who ends up with what. But hopefully I get to play something like this, where you've got the Hive Tyrant is your Warlord here with Synaptic Control, so he has that -1 damage, hoping to be able to use that Armor of Contempt and cover and basically just have it where this Hive Tyrant is never going to die, or at least requires way more firepower than my opponent wants to put into him. Next up, we do have the Neurotyrant with the power of the Hive Mind. So he's got this incredible Strength 6 AP2 for 2 Flamer. Fantastic for Overwatch, fantastic just all around, as well as handing out Synapse wherever I end up needing it. This list shouldn't need that, but in case I feel like throwing out some scouting units, the Neurotyrant can now throw that out 18 inches because of the new codex. Then you've got 18 Zoanthropes. This is obviously the core of the list. Zoanthropes are really good when they get to reroll 1s to hit and wound, so they are probably spending that 1 CP every single turn, being within range of each other, and basically just blasting anything in the midfield that pokes its head out, whether that's through their literal blast profile or their lance profile. They should be able to put out serious firepower, and more importantly, repeatedly put out all of this firepower. Hopefully in such a way where if 2 units get tagged, one of them at least can fall back within range of the Hive Tyrant, so we can use that free strat and they can both fall back, shoot, and charge. Next up, we have 3 Exocrines. Exocrines are great. They support each other, and they support the Zoanthropes, giving out +1 to hit against a target. So this list is really good at killing one thing. It's kind of taking the Space Marine oaths, because now the Exocrine shoots something, and then the Zoanthropes pop the strat, and they're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s against a target, and re-rolling 1s to wound. So that's really good. And then next up, we've got the Norn Emissary. This guy in this detachment is as tanky as he can get. You pick that center objective as his single purpose, and he has a 2-up armor save with potential armor of contempt, 4-up invuln, 5-up feel no pain. If your opponent shoots at him and he gets cover from las cannons, AP3, you're still going to have a 3-up save. And Meltas, you have your 4-up invuln. Mortal wounds, you got your 4-up against mortals. He should be ridiculously tanky, and honestly just hold the middle with OC 15, score you all your points, and anything that comes to the center that actually can threaten him, your Zoanthropes and Exocrines should just light up. Then we've got a single Maleceptor, just fitting with the theme, Psychic Bugs. Maleceptor has a 4+ invuln, really good for the points, just very efficient, and fits with the theme of the list, and really that's all he's really here for. He kind of goes frontline to make your opponent -1 to hit and be that first roadblock that your opponent has to get through, and the 4-up invuln helps make that really annoying to deal with. Then we've got a single Biovore. They're still really good. You want them in every list. You want at least one to be able to throw out the Spore Mines, get secondaries where you need it. That's absolutely worth 45 points, or even 65 if that's what it goes back to. Then we've got 2 Neurolictors. I think for the same reason, these guys also should be in basically every list. They're just lone operatives that can do secondaries for you, have the side effect of making your opponent take battle shock checks. If your opponent fails that battle shock check, obliterate that unit, because suddenly they're -1, or you get +1 to wound against them. And in this list, that means that unit is gone. So yeah, just 2 Neurolictors, probably just there to do secondaries, and live with a 4-up invuln. But on the off chance your opponent decides to fail a battle shock check, you can do mortal wounds to them and just obliterate them with +1 to wound. Then we've got 3 individual Rippers. These guys also just secondaries. You're doing all your killing between your Zoanthropes, Exocrine, and Maleceptor. So then you've got Neurolictors, Rippers, and Biovores all to do secondaries. And with that, I had like 105 points left over, decided to just go 22 Neurogaunts. These guys, up to you, depending on your opponent, how good they are at killing little chaff. You can attach them to the Neurotyrant or not. They're still just 22 bodies that your opponent has to get rid of. They can screen out your backfield, whatever you need them to do. Really cheap guys to be able to do it. But yeah, that's the list. Obviously, I went through and talked what everything does. Let's give you that really brief synopsis. I will post the list in the comments down below as well. But you've got your Hive Tyrant with -1 damage, your Neurotyrant with the enhanced Psychic Flamer, 3 squads of 6 Zoanthropes, 3 Exocrine, a Norn Emissary, a Maleceptor, a Biovore, 2 Neurolictors, 3 individual Rippers, and 22 Neurogaunts. So yeah, that's the list. I think this is really strong. We'll see how it plays, but it solves the problem that Tyranids have had in my experience of not being able to kill tanks. This at least is pick 1 unit per turn and obliterate it, regardless of whether it's like a Custodes infantry block, then Zoanthropes go for their blast profile. Obviously a tank, you're going for your lance profile. Just, again, the ability to reroll 1s is huge, and the ability to fall back and charge, huge for Zoanthropes, or fall back and shoot. And yeah, other than that, just the -1 AP on both the Hive Tyrant and the Norn Emissary should make them incredibly difficult to kill, because you should always have cover. Make sure that at least you've got one part of your model behind a wall, probably the tail, maybe a claw, but yeah, cover rules in 10th edition are really easy to get. So yeah, that's the Synaptic Nexus. I hope to be able to come back and let you guys know how it performs, or maybe you guys can see it yourselves on the Charity Hammer stream that's happening next week. And yeah, let me know if you guys, what you want to see next and what you think of the list. And I will talk to you all in the next video. Thanks.